Hi, I'm Bryant Dillon. I am co-founder and president of Fanbase Press, but I also review comics for the website, I participate in the podcast, and I write editorials.
My name is Barbara Dillon. I am the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Fanbase Press, and I oversee our staff and contributors here at the company for all of our editorial content, reviews, interviews, and podcast network.
Hi, my name is Michele Brittany. I am the Fanbase Press editorials manager. What I do is I develop editorial content for the online website of Fanbase Press.
Hi, I'm Philip Kelly. I'm a contributor at Fanbase Press. Essentially what that is reading comic books before they're released, writing my reviews, and writing some editorials, other things they're looking for throughout the year, like holiday gifts and such.
For those who are interested in writing reviews or conducting interviews, my best piece of advice is to find your own voice and your own style. A lot of times I see reviews that may be from our own outlet at First Draft or from other outlets that sort of regurgitate the plot for the majority of the review. And while it's understandable that you want to share the story that you've just read, sometimes it's best to just pique the interest of readers, to give them a taste of what the story or movie or other content that you've just read is, so that they can be interested but not necessarily take the entire story away from your review alone.
I think my advice to anybody just starting out would be good to people, like be friendly to people. I think building relationships is one of the most important things that you can do in reaching any of your goals. If you put out a negative sort of personality on any level, anywhere, people aren't going to want to work with you. And I think coming in with that love of passion, and of course, practicing your craft is very helpful. If you want to write reviews, having your own blog up and practicing that writing and taking in as much as you can of the things you want to write about or the things you want to become a part of, I think is really important as well. So
I think that writing blogs, there's kind of two directions with regards to writing blogs. One is whether you're doing it outside of a media outlet. And if you're going to do it that way, then you're going to want to have a topic or kind of an overarching idea that you want to pursue. You're going to want to focus in and give purpose to your blog. You're also going to want to create a content schedule. That's very, very important. So that way you're staying with your overarching theme.
Advice I'd give to aspiring writers would be to kind of look at how you define reviewing something. I think that very often when we speak to new reviewers or take a look at their reviews, sometimes people get lost in the critical nature of the review and maybe aren't always thinking of constructive criticism. There's a frame of thought out there for reviews that's very much about, you know, the harder you can punch or the more witty you can break down something. But I think that there's so much out there of that we don't need as many voices like that. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be critical or that you shouldn't point out when you see a flaw, but I think there's many ways to approach that stuff by finding a way to suggest how it could have been done better or how the creator can, going forward, maybe course correct. So that would be one recommendation.
I think social media, when used well, is amazing. I've certainly connected with creators that I never thought I would have the ability to meet. You know, whether it's just sharing a joke or a moment about what they've worked on in the past and showing my appreciation. Sometimes those little interactions can make your day. But then again, seeing how some people use social media to attack, it's depressing and it can be stressful. And I think that's why you need to look for those communities that are positive. And that's why, going back to what I said earlier, you need to put yourself out there in a positive light.
You also, very important, you want to stay consistent with whatever you've promised your readership. Now, translating that to Fanbase Press, it's very similar because there you can have a media outlet. And a way to kind of step into that is blogging initially, because that creates content that Barbara or myself can go and look at and see what your writing style is. Are you consistent? We will be looking at those kind of things. But also, is your interest pop culture? And if so, then we're very interested in people that want to write content, whether it be reviews, discuss on podcasts, or whether it is doing panel reviews, going to the local conventions and wanting to do coverage, whether that be written content or photography or even videos. So there's lots of opportunity. It's really the direction that you want to go.
So one thing I'm actually kind of proud of, and I don't like to toot my own horn a lot, but I wrote a review recently about Matt Kint's Department H comic book series that he wrote that just finished. And the review that I wrote, he later tweeted that he had never read a review that made him cry about one of his own works. And that was whether I needed, I don't know, something about that day I needed to hear something like that. And to make someone cry based upon how I felt about their work, and then putting it back out there in such a way and kind of breaking it down in such a way that made them feel anything. I don't know, that was pretty cool.
So common mistakes that I see as an editorial manager is content that has been done before. We're always looking for content that is unique. So finding perspective, so that involves actually doing research, looking at what's out there online already, and then choosing, either finding a gap in that coverage or finding a new spin to that content. As mentioned earlier, you're going to want to do your research. Make sure that you know who the star is and that it's not just, oh, well, it was Buffy, but not having an idea who the actress was behind Buffy, for instance. We're also looking for entertaining essays. I know editorial content can be dry, but you can spice up and give a little bit of an entertainment. It's an opportunity to really pursue and develop your voice. And last thing I would say is give time to editing. Don't write it once and then send it in. Build in time to edit. And then very last, stay consistent and stay true to your deadlines.
I think things that people should avoid are, one of the big things is waiting for something to happen to them. I think taking those steps yourself, those first few steps, especially in this day and age, is really important. Putting yourself out there as what you want to be before anybody says this is what you are. And a lot of people a lot of people still don't do that. And I think that's one of the biggest things you can not do, is not do what you love doing before someone gives you the opportunity to do it. So, and there's so many different avenues to do things now, like creating your own blogs or putting videos up on YouTube, or whatever it is you're trying to get into. Like, do it. Like, don't wait for like an audition to land. Don't wait for someone to hire you as a writer. Just get out there and do it.
For those out there who are interested in becoming a contributor of Fanbase Press, you can visit the Fanbase Press website at fanbasepress.com. There is a Become a Contributor link in the About section that gives you a lot of information about what it is to be a contributor and what is expected of you. But viewers can also email me at barbara@fanbasepress.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I felt like I nailed that one.
Yeah, that was good. One take.
That one I was passionate about.
So now,